Hello there, and welcome to Simple Sleepy Science. Tonight, we drift into nature's quietest secrets, the ones that happen while you're not looking. Right now, outside your window, 1,000 gentle things are happening in complete silence. Trees are falling asleep too. They lower their branches at night, just like you pulling up covers. This is a place for calm curiosity and rest. So, settle in, get comfortable, and let's explore something beautiful together. Before we go deeper, if this brings you calm, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more peaceful stories tomorrow. And leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing you're out there, sharing this quiet moment with me. Now, let me tell you about something that will change how you see the forest. Scientists in Austria and Finland did something remarkable. They pointed laser scanners at birch trees and watched them through the entire night. What they discovered was unexpected. The trees were moving, not swaying in wind, not growing. They were drooping, relaxing, letting go. Every single branch lowered itself by up to 4 inches as darkness fell. The whole tree sagged gently downward, like shoulders dropping after a long day. Then, just before sunrise, the branches lifted again. Slowly, quietly, getting ready for another day of catching sunlight. Trees have a sleep cycle just like you do. Think about that for a moment. These massive living things, some weighing tons, are responding to the same day and night rhythm that makes you yawn. They don't have brains. They don't have nervous systems like yours. But they still know when it's time to rest. It happens because of water pressure inside the tree. During the day, water moves up through the trunk and fills every branch and leaf. This keeps everything firm and upright, reaching toward the sun. But at night, without sunlight driving the process, water pressure drops. The tree relaxes, branches soften and lower. It's not dying or wilting, it's resting. Scientists call this circadian rhythm. It's the internal clock that nearly every living thing carries. From the tiniest bacteria to the largest redwood, life follows the pattern of light and dark. Your body makes melatonin when the sun sets. Trees reduce their water pressure. Both are responses to the same ancient signal that day is ending. Even plants that live indoors, far from natural light, still try to follow this rhythm. They remember. Somewhere deep in their cells, they carry the knowledge of day and night, passed down through millions of years of evolution. So tonight, as you close your eyes, know this. The trees outside are doing the same thing. The forest is settling down with you. Branches are lowering, leaves are stilling. Nature is taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly. You're not alone in your need for rest. Everything alive understands this moment. The pull towards sleep is universal. It's written into the fabric of life itself. From the smallest sprout to the oldest oak, the message is the same. It's time to let go. It's time to rest. The world will still be here in the morning. While trees rest in hours, some things in nature move so slowly you'd need years just to see them change. Moss is one of those patient things. Walk through any forest and you'll see it. Green carpet covering rocks, soft cushions on fallen logs. It looks simple, almost boring. But moss is doing something extraordinary. It's growing so slowly that time itself seems different around it. A single moss plant might take 20 years to grow just 1 inch. 20 years. Think about everything that's happened in your life over the last 20 years. All the changes, all the moments. And in that same time, a patch of moss added 1 tiny inch to itself. Some moss colonies are older than your great-grandparents. There are mosses in the Arctic that have been growing in the same spot for over 100 years. They were there before cars existed, before airplanes, before electricity lit up cities at night. And they're still there now, adding microscopic layers so thin you'd never notice. Scientists study ancient moss to understand climate history. Each layer holds information about what the air was like, what the temperature was, how much rain fell. The moss remembers everything. It writes history in green, 1 molecule at a time. This slowness is a survival strategy. Moss doesn't rush because it doesn't need to. It has no predators. Nothing eats it. It doesn't compete with other plants for space because it grows where nothing else can. On bare rock, on tree bark, in the thinnest soil, it just exists, patiently, quietly, adding to itself bit by bit, year after year. There's something calming about this. In a world that moves fast, where everything demands your attention right now, moss reminds you that slow is okay. Slow works. Slow lasts. You can't watch moss grow any more than you can watch a mountain erode. Both happen. Both are real. But they operate on a timescale so different from yours that they might as well be frozen. Yet, they're not frozen. They're moving, just slowly, so slowly that patience becomes a different concept entirely. Moss also doesn't sleep the way trees do. It doesn't have a day and night cycle in the same way. Instead, it responds to moisture. When rain comes, it swells and activates. When things dry out, it goes dormant. It can survive years without water, just waiting. Not dead, not alive in the active sense, just waiting. This is a different kind of rest. Not the daily sleep you know, but something deeper. A pause that can last months or years. And when the rain finally comes, the moss wakes up exactly as it was. No damage, no loss, just continuation. Time moves differently depending on what you are. For you, a year is significant. For moss, a year is barely a breath. Both are valid. Both are true. The universe contains all these different speeds at once, and they all coexist perfectly. As you lie here tonight, somewhere in a forest, moss is doing what it's done for millions of years. Growing so slowly, it's almost stillness, patient beyond measure, teaching the rocks beneath it that time is flexible and rushing is optional, from the slowest growth to the softest fall. Snow changes everything about sound, and the science behind it is beautiful. You've felt it before. That strange quiet that happens after fresh snow. The world doesn't just look different, it sounds different. Muffled, hushed, like someone turned down the volume on everything. This isn't your imagination. Snow actually absorbs sound. Each snowflake is a tiny crystal with a complex shape, 6 arms branching out in patterns that never repeat. When billions of these crystals pile up, they create millions of tiny air pockets between them. These pockets are the secret. Sound travels through air as vibrations. When those vibrations hit fresh snow, they enter all those tiny spaces between the crystals. The sound bounces around inside, losing energy with each bounce. Instead of reflecting back to your ears, the sound gets trapped and absorbed. It disappears into the snow like water into a sponge. Fresh snow can reduce sound by up to 60%. That's more than half of all noise just vanishing. Car sounds fade, voices soften, even your footsteps become whispers. The effect is strongest with new snow. The fluffier, the better. As snow gets packed down or turns to ice, those air pockets collapse. The sound absorption weakens. This is why a snowy morning feels quieter than a snowy afternoon after people have walked through it. Temperature matters too. The colder the air, the less sound travels anyway. Cold air is denser, and sound moves through it differently than through warm air. So winter nights are naturally quieter, even without snow. Add fresh powder and you get something close to silence. Scientists measured this in forests. They found that snow cover changes how animals communicate. Birds adjust their calls. Mammals change their behavior. The acoustic environment shifts completely, and everything living in it adapts. But there's something else happening when snow falls. The act of falling itself is nearly silent. A single snowflake weighs almost nothing. It drifts down so gently that it makes no sound when it lands. Millions can fall and you'll hear nothing, just the accumulation of silence building up, flake by flake. Think about what that means. Precipitation, something violent in other forms, becomes gentle. Rain drums, hail crashes, but snow lands like a thought, soft, quiet, almost apologetic about arriving at all. This is why snowy nights feel so peaceful. It's not just the beauty, it's the absence of noise. Your brain, usually processing constant sound, suddenly has less to do. The quiet becomes almost physical. You can feel it around you like a blanket. The world wraps itself in snow and everything gets calmer. Cities slow down. People lower their voices. Even wind sounds different when it moves through falling snow, softened and rounded at the edges. Right now, somewhere on Earth, snow is falling in complete silence, covering the ground, filling in the gaps, creating that particular hush that only winter knows. And if you listen carefully, really carefully, you can almost hear the sound of quiet itself. Not nothing, but the presence of softness, the sound of the world deciding to rest. Snow rests on land, but in the ocean, rest looks completely different. Sperm whales have one of the strangest sleep habits on Earth. They sleep standing up, vertically, straight up and down in the water like floating logs. Scientists discovered this by accident. A research team was tracking whales with underwater sensors when they noticed something odd. Groups of whales would gather together and just stop moving, completely still, heads pointing toward the surface, tails hanging below. They looked almost fake, like props suspended in the water. At first, researchers thought the equipment was broken. Whales are supposed to move. They're mammals. They need to breathe air. How could they just float there without drowning? Then they realized the whales were sleeping, but not for long. These vertical naps last only 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Then the whales wake up, swim to the surface, take a breath, and either sleep again or go about their business. It's the shortest sleep cycle of any mammal. Scientists think whales sleep this way because they need to stay aware of their surroundings. The ocean has dangers, predators, boats, other whales. Even in sleep, some part of their brain stays alert, ready to react. They also discovered that sperm whales might be the least sleep-dependent mammals alive. They average only 7% of their day sleeping. That's about 90 minutes total, broken into tiny chunks. Humans sleep around 30% of the day. Most mammals fall somewhere between 20 and 40%. But whales function perfectly fine on almost no sleep at all. How they manage this is still a mystery. Sleep deprivation affects every other mammal badly. Humans fall apart without sleep. Even dolphins, who sleep with half their brain at a time, need several hours a day. But sperm whales seem to have found a way around this biological requirement. When they do sleep, they drift. The ocean holds them perfectly balanced, neither sinking nor rising. The salt water is dense enough to support their weight. They hang there in the darkness of deep water, sometimes hundreds of feet down, in complete silence. Imagine that. Being so large, so powerful, yet trusting the water to hold you while you rest. No ground beneath you, no surface above. Just the pressure of the ocean keeping you exactly where you are, suspended between depths. Other whales sleep differently. Humpbacks rest horizontally near the surface. Right whales float at the top, logging like driftwood. But sperm whales chose vertical stillness. Scientists don't fully know why. Maybe it's easier to wake up and move quickly. Maybe it helps them stay oriented in the featureless deep ocean. What's certain is this: even the largest creatures need rest. Even giants pause. Even animals built for constant movement have moments of complete stillness. The ocean, vast and restless, holds space for sleep. Right now, somewhere in the deep, a sperm whale is standing in water, perfectly still, eyes closed, dreaming whatever whales dream. And the ocean rocks it gently, the way darkness rocks you now, holding you safe while you let go, from the deep ocean to the driest land. The desert seems like the opposite of sleep, hot, harsh, empty. But at night, it transforms into something gentler. Desert flowers open after the sun goes down. Cacti bloom in darkness. What looks dead by day comes alive when the heat finally breaks. This happens for a simple reason. Daytime in the desert is brutal. Temperatures can hit 120 degrees. Opening delicate flower petals in that heat would be suicide. The moisture would evaporate instantly. The petals would cook and wither. So, desert plants evolved to wait. They keep their flowers closed during the day, tight buds that look like they might never open. Then, as the sun sets and temperatures drop, the petals unfold, slowly, one by one. By full darkness, the desert is covered in blooms that weren't there hours before. These night flowers are usually white or pale yellow, colors that show up in moonlight and starlight. Bright colors don't matter when there's no sun to reflect them. Instead, these flowers glow softly in the dark, visible to the creatures they need. Because desert pollinators work the night shift too. Moths with wings that blur invisible. Bats that navigate by sound. These animals avoid the day for the same reason the flowers do. Heat kills. Darkness protects. The moths hover at flowers, drinking nectar with tongues as long as their bodies. Their wings beat so fast they hum. Bats swoop and dive, their sonar pinging off petals and stems. All of this happens in near silence. No bees buzzing, no birds chirping, just the whisper of wings and the soft brush of bodies against blooms. By morning, the show is over. Flowers close back up, moths disappear into crevices, bats return to caves. The desert goes back to looking empty and still. But it's not empty. It's just resting, waiting for darkness to come again. This is a different rhythm than the forest. Trees follow the sun's schedule, active during the day. But the desert flipped it. Here, night is the time for living. Day is the time for endurance. Even cacti, those symbols of desert toughness, do most of their work at night. They open tiny pores in their skin after dark to breathe in carbon dioxide. During the day, those pores stay sealed to prevent water loss. They've learned to live backwards, doing in darkness what most plants do in light. There's something beautiful about this adaptation. Life found a way even in the harshest place. It didn't fight the heat. It simply avoided it, waited it out, chose a different time to exist. The desert teaches patience of a particular kind, not the slow patience of moss, but the patient waiting for the right moment, knowing when to act and when to stay closed, when to bloom and when to protect yourself. Tonight, in some desert, flowers are opening that no human will see. Bats are feeding. Moths are dancing between cacti. All of this happening quietly, in the coolness that only comes after the sun surrenders. The harsh place becomes gentle. The empty place fills with life. And it all happens while the world sleeps. Look up from the desert and you'll see them, clouds, drifting across the sky, light as thoughts. Except they're not light at all. A single fluffy cloud weighs about 1,000,000 pounds. Let that sink in. One cloud, 1,000,000 pounds. That's the weight of 100 elephants floating above your head. This seems impossible. Clouds look like cotton, like breath, like things that should weigh nothing. But they're made of water, and water is heavy. Each cloud contains billions of tiny water droplets. And when you add them all together, the weight becomes staggering. So, why doesn't it fall? Why doesn't 1,000,000 pounds of water just drop on your head? The answer is in how that weight is spread out. Those billions of droplets are scattered across a huge space. Each individual drop is so tiny, so light, that air currents hold it up easily. A single water droplet in a cloud is smaller than the width of a human hair. It's almost nothing by itself. Gravity does pull on each droplet, but the pull is so weak compared to the upward push of warm air that the droplet just hovers. It drifts. It hangs suspended in space, neither rising nor falling, just existing in that perfect balance between forces. This is why clouds float, not because they're light, but because they're spread thin enough that air can support them. It's like the difference between holding a feather and holding a steel ball. Both feel different in your hand, but if you could spread that steel ball into dust so fine you could barely see the particles, even that would float. When droplets in a cloud get bigger, they do fall. That's rain. Droplets bump into each other and merge. One tiny drop becomes two. Two become four. Eventually, they're heavy enough that air can't hold them anymore. They fall through the cloud, collecting more droplets as they go, getting bigger and heavier until they reach the ground as rain. But until that happens, the cloud just drifts. 1,000,000 pounds moving at the speed of wind, sometimes fast, sometimes barely moving at all. Always heavy, always floating. Clouds at sunset can weigh even more. Storm clouds carry millions of tons of water. Cumulonimbus clouds, the tall ones that bring thunder, can contain more water than flows over Niagara Falls in an hour. All of it suspended in the sky. All of it held up by nothing but moving air. There's something calming about this contradiction. Heavy things can float. Weight doesn't mean falling. The right conditions make impossible things normal. 1,000,000 pounds drifts by and you don't even notice because it happens so gently. Right now, clouds are moving overhead somewhere. Maybe above you, maybe above someone on the other side of the world. Each one carrying weight you can't see, floating on currents you can't feel. Heavy and light at the same time, present and untouchable. There, but not solid. The sky holds more than you think, and it does it without effort, without struggle. Just the natural physics of air and water, finding their balance, creating beauty from the simple fact that even heavy things can float if they're patient enough. Water floats in clouds, but on the ground, it carves memory into the earth itself. Rivers remember where they've been, even after they disappear. A river can dry up completely. Years without rain. The riverbed cracks and bakes in the sun. Plants grow where water used to flow. Animals walk across what was once too deep to cross. The river seems gone, erased, but the earth remembers. Underground, the soil is different where water flowed. The river sorted particles as it moved. Heavy stone settled in certain patterns. Fine silt collected in others. Clay filled in spaces between rocks. All of this happened layer by layer, year after year, creating an invisible map of where water went. Even thousands of years later, that map remains. Scientists can dig down and see the ancient riverbeds clearly. Different colors, different textures. The ghost of water that hasn't flowed in millennia. This matters because when rain finally returns, water follows the old path. It sinks into the ground and finds the sorted stones, the spaces between particles, the route that's easiest to flow through. The new river forms exactly where the old one was. Same curves, same channel. Like the earth kept the instructions written in soil. Some rivers in the Sahara haven't flowed for thousands of years, but satellites can see their paths from space. Slightly different colors in the sand, subtle changes in elevation, lines crossing the desert that mark where water once ran. The memory is still there, waiting. Native peoples knew this. They found water in deserts by reading the land, looking for plants that only grow near underground moisture, following ancient channels that hadn't seen surface water in generations. The earth told them where rivers used to be, and that's where they dug wells. Modern cities sometimes rediscover old rivers by accident. Construction crews dig foundations and find layers of river stones under buildings. Unexpected flooding happens because water still wants to flow where it always flowed, and we built on top of its memory without realizing. Rivers also remember by changing the rock itself. Water dissolves certain minerals as it flows. Over time, this creates chemical signatures in the stone. Even after the water is gone, the rock is different, changed at a molecular level by contact with the river, holding evidence of something that no longer exists. This is a deeper kind of memory than what we usually think about. Not conscious, not stored in a brain. Just the physical consequence of something happening over and over until it becomes part of the structure itself. The land learns the shape of water. The shape persists. There's comfort in knowing nothing is truly lost. That the earth keeps records we can't see, but that remain real. Your footsteps leave traces too small to notice, but they're there. Every breath you take changes the air in ways that ripple outward. Nothing disappears completely. Rivers will flow again in the Sahara someday. Climate shifts. Rain returns. And when it does, water will find those ancient paths and follow them home. The earth will welcome the river back to channels carved long ago, and everything will remember how it used to be. Earth remembers its rivers, but the sky holds an even older kind of memory. When you look at stars, you're seeing the past. Light travels fast, faster than anything else in the universe. But space is so enormous that even light takes time to cross it. Years, centuries, sometimes millions of years. The light reaching your eyes right now left those stars long ago. Some started their journey before you were born, before your parents were born, before humans built cities or invented writing. That twinkle you see is ancient history arriving at your retina. The North Star is about 400 light years away. The light you see from it tonight left that star in the year 1625. Shakespeare had been dead for 9 years. The Mayflower hadn't yet reached America. That light has been traveling through empty space all this time, finally reaching Earth right now. This moment, entering your eye. Some stars you see are already dead. They exploded or collapsed or simply burned out. But their light is still traveling, still crossing the vast distance between there and here. You're seeing a star that doesn't exist anymore, except as light in motion. A ghost made of photons. This means the night sky is a time machine. Different stars show you different eras. That bright one might be showing you last year. That dim one might be showing you the Bronze Age. You're looking at 1,000 different moments in history, all arriving together as one view. There's no way to see stars as they are right now. The information takes too long to arrive. By the time you know anything about a distant star, that moment is already ancient history. The star has moved on, changed, maybe died. You'll only know when the light from that event finally reaches you, years or centuries from now. This is what it means to look up. You're seeing the universe not as it is, but as it was. A collection of old moments frozen in light. The present is invisible to you. It's too far away. All you get is the past, delivered at the speed of light, which is fast, but not fast enough to make distance irrelevant. Even the sun works this way. The light warming your face left the sun's surface 8 minutes ago. If the sun vanished right now, you wouldn't know for 8 minutes. You'd see it shining normally, feel its warmth normally, and then suddenly it would blink out. 8 minutes of false present before the truth arrived. The universe runs on delay. Everything you see is old news. The moon's light is a second old. Mars is several minutes old. The nearest star system is over 4 years old. And the edge of the visible universe shows you light that's been traveling for nearly 14 billion years, since shortly after the universe began. So tonight, when you look up, know that you're not seeing now, you're seeing then. Multiple thens, actually. A sky full of different moments from different times, all pretending to be the present. The stars are lying to you gently, showing you beauty that's already gone, light that's been traveling so long it's forgotten where it came from. Stars communicate across light years. But beneath your feet, something else is talking. Right now, in real time. The forest has an internet made of mushrooms. Walk through any forest, and you're standing on top of a conversation you can't hear. Underground, beneath the leaves and soil, mushroom threads connect everything. Trees, plants, other fungi, all linked together in a network that scientists call the Wood Wide Web. These threads are called mycelium. They're thinner than spider silk. A single teaspoon of forest soil can contain miles of these threads, woven through the dirt in patterns too complex to map. They branch and connect and split and merge, creating a living network that covers acres. The mushroom you see above ground is just the fruit. The actual organism is underground, massive. Some fungi spread across thousands of acres. One fungus in Oregon covers over 2,000 acres and might be the largest living organism on Earth. All of it connected, all of it one entity. But here's what makes it remarkable. These fungal threads connect to tree roots. They wrap around them, grow into them, form partnerships. The fungus gives the tree water and nutrients from deep in the soil. The tree gives the fungus sugars from photosynthesis. They trade. They help each other survive. And through these connections, trees can talk. One tree can send sugar to another through the fungal network. A large tree can feed a smaller one that's stuck in shade and can't photosynthesize enough. Mother trees, the old giants in the forest, send resources to their offspring. They recognize their own seedlings and give them extra help. Trees also send warnings. When insects attack one tree, it releases chemical signals into the network. Other trees receive the message and start producing defensive compounds before the insects reach them. They prepare. They defend themselves early, all because one tree sent an alarm through the underground threads. Scientists proved this by injecting radioactive carbon into one tree and watching it appear in nearby trees within days. The carbon traveled through the soil via fungal connections. Trees were literally sharing food across distances, using mushrooms as the delivery system. This network never sleeps. It operates constantly. Signals moving, resources flowing, trees helping each other in ways that look almost like kindness. The forest isn't a collection of individuals competing. It's a community, a family. They take care of each other through the dark soil. Even dead trees stay connected. The stumps of cut trees can remain alive for decades, fed by neighboring trees through the root network. They keep them alive for no clear reason except that they're connected, part of the system. The forest doesn't abandon its members just because they can't photosynthesize anymore. This changes how we think about trees. They're not silent, not isolated. They're social, communicating in chemical languages we're only beginning to understand, trading resources, raising young together, warning each other of danger, all of it facilitated by fungi that benefit from keeping the forest healthy. Right now, beneath every forest on Earth, this conversation is happening. Trees talking, fungi listening and transmitting, a whole ecosystem coordinating in real time through threads too small to see. The quiet forest is actually humming with communication. You just can't hear it. Trees think through networks, but some creatures don't think at all. Jellyfish have existed for over 500 million years without a single thought. No brain, no heart, no bones, not even blood. A jellyfish is barely more than organized water. About 95% of its body is just seawater held together by a thin layer of cells. It's almost nothing, and yet it lives. It moves. It hunts. It survives. This seems impossible. How do you function without a brain? How do you know where to go, what to eat, when to move? The answer is, you don't know. You just respond. A jellyfish has a simple nerve net instead of a brain. Just a loose web of nerves spread throughout its body. When something touches one part, the signal spreads to other parts. That's it. No processing, no decision making, just stimulus and response. Touch equals movement. Light equals direction. Food equals capture. They drift through oceans, pulsing their bells to move up or down. But mostly, they just go where currents take them. They don't choose destinations. They don't plan. They exist in a permanent present, with no memory of the past and no concept of the future. Every moment is the only moment, and somehow this works. Jellyfish survived 5 mass extinctions. They were here before dinosaurs, before trees, before fish. They watched entire categories of life appear, dominate, and go extinct. And they're still here, unchanged, unthinking, drifting. Scientists study them, trying to understand the minimum requirements for life. What do you actually need? Jellyfish prove you don't need much. No complex organs, no specialized systems. Just cells working together in the simplest possible way. And that's enough. Some jellyfish are even immortal. The Turritopsis dohrnii can reverse its own aging. When it gets old or damaged, it transforms back into a polyp, its juvenile form. Then it grows up again, It can do this indefinitely. Biological immortality achieved by an animal with no brain. There's something peaceful about their existence. No thoughts means no anxiety. No planning means no disappointment. No memory means no regret. They float through life responding to the immediate moment and nothing else, pure being without the burden of consciousness. Jellyfish also don't sleep. They can't. Sleep requires a brain to shut down. Without a brain, there's nothing to shut down. They exist in a state that's neither awake nor asleep, just constant low-level functioning. They slow down at night, become less active, but they never truly rest. They also feel no pain. Pain requires a brain to process the signal and interpret it as suffering. Jellyfish have the nerves to detect damage, but no center to feel bad about it. They register harm and react, but they don't suffer. Existence without suffering seems like a contradiction, but jellyfish prove it's possible. Watch one in an aquarium. The way it pulses, the way it drifts. There's something hypnotic about the simplicity. No rushing, no purpose beyond staying alive. No thoughts complicating the moment. Just gentle movement through water, responding to currents, being exactly what it is, without any awareness of being at all. Sometimes, the simplest things last longest, proving that complexity isn't required for success. Jellyfish drift with the current, but something else controls that current. Something 240,000 miles away. The moon moves the entire ocean twice a day. Tides are the ocean breathing, in and out, high and low. This rhythm has repeated billions of times since water first covered the earth. And it's all because of the moon's gravity. Gravity pulls everything toward everything else. The moon pulls on Earth. Earth pulls back. But water, unlike solid rock, can move in response to this pull. The ocean bulges toward the moon. Not much, just a few feet. But across the whole ocean, that's trillions of gallons of water shifting position. As Earth spins, different parts of the ocean pass through this bulge. When your coastline moves into it, the water level rises. That's high tide. 6 hours later, you've rotated out of the bulge. The water level drops. That's low tide. 6 hours after that, high tide again. The cycle continues forever. But here's the part that breaks your brain. There are two bulges, one on the side of Earth facing the moon, and one on the opposite side. The moon pulls water toward it on the near side. That makes sense. But on the far side, Earth itself gets pulled slightly away from the water, creating another bulge. So you get 2 high tides per day, roughly 12 hours apart. The sun also pulls on Earth's water, but it's much farther away, so its effect is weaker. When the sun and moon align during new and full moons, their pulls combine. This creates spring tides, the highest highs and lowest lows. When they're at right angles during quarter moons, they partially cancel each other out. This creates neap tides, which are gentler. Every shoreline experiences this differently. Some places have huge tides. The Bay of Fundy in Canada sees tides over 50 feet. Other places have barely noticeable tides. But it's all the same mechanism. The moon pulling, the ocean responding, the rhythm of celestial mechanics playing out in water. Ancient people noticed the connection between moon phases and tides. They didn't understand gravity, but they saw the pattern. They knew the moon controlled the water somehow. This felt like magic, like the sky and sea were in conversation. And in a way, they are. The moon and ocean have been dancing together for over 4 billion years. The same dance, the same steps, never changing, never stopping. Tides also slow Earth's rotation. The friction of water moving across the ocean floor acts like a brake. Very slowly, our days are getting longer. 1 billion years ago, a day was only 18 hours. 1 billion years from now, it might be 26 hours. The moon is stealing Earth's rotational energy and using it to move farther away from us, about 1.5 inches per year. Eventually, in billions of years, the moon will be so far away that it won't create tides anymore. The ocean will stop breathing in this particular rhythm. But that's so far in the future, it might as well be forever. For now, right now, the moon is up there pulling. The ocean is down here responding. Twice a day, every day. The most reliable rhythm on Earth besides the sunrise. And you're part of it, living on a planet where the sky moves the sea. The moon knows when to pull the tides. Trees know when to let go of their leaves. Nothing in nature happens randomly. Fall looks chaotic. Leaves dropping everywhere, covering the ground in color. But each leaf is released deliberately. The tree makes a choice. This leaf, now, let go. It starts with a signal. As days get shorter and temperatures drop, trees sense the change. Shorter daylight means winter is coming. Winter means freezing. Leaves full of water will freeze and die anyway. So the tree decides to drop them early. Save energy. Protect itself. The tree stops sending food to the leaf. It cuts off the supply line. Then it creates a special layer of cells at the base of the leaf stem. This layer is called the abscission layer. Abscission means cutting off. These cells are designed to break apart easily. As the leaf stops receiving nutrients, it changes color. The green chlorophyll breaks down first. This reveals other colors that were always there but hidden. Yellows and oranges from carotenoids, reds from anthocyanins. The leaf isn't changing color as much as revealing what was underneath all along. Meanwhile, the abscission layer weakens the connection between leaf and branch. It's like perforated paper, easy to tear. A strong breeze is usually enough. The leaf pulls gently against the stem. The cells separate, and the leaf falls. But the tree doesn't just abandon the leaf. It seals the wound immediately. The remaining cells form a protective layer over the scar. This prevents disease and water loss. The tree heals itself as it lets go, protecting both the leaf that's leaving and the branch that remains. Some trees drop all their leaves within days. Others take weeks. It depends on species and weather. But every tree follows the same process. Sense the change, cut off resources, form the separation layer, seal the wound, release. This isn't death, it's preparation. Trees don't die when they drop leaves. They conserve. Leaves require energy to maintain. In winter, when photosynthesis slows down, leaves become a burden. Better to shed them and grow new ones in spring when sunlight returns and energy is abundant again. The timing matters too. Drop leaves too early and you waste productive time. Drop them too late and they freeze, making them harder to detach. Trees have evolved to recognize the exact right moment. That moment when the cost of keeping leaves exceeds the benefit. Evergreen trees made a different choice. They keep their leaves year-round, but those leaves are tougher. Covered in waxy coatings, shaped like needles to reduce surface area. They can survive winter, so the tree doesn't need to drop them. Different strategy, same goal. Survive. There's wisdom in knowing when to let go. Holding on past the useful point costs more than it gives. The tree teaches this without words. It releases what no longer serves. It protects itself in the process. And come spring, it grows again. Nothing lost, just transformed. Right now, somewhere, a tree is forming abscission layers, preparing to release leaves that blazed bright all summer. The connection weakens, a breeze will come, the leaf will fall, and the tree will be ready for winter, lighter and safer for having let go. Trees let go and grow again each year, but some things grow so slowly you'd never believe they were growing at all. Stones grow, just incredibly, impossibly slowly. In caves, stalactites hang from ceilings like stone icicles. They form one drop of water at a time. Each drop carries tiny amounts of dissolved minerals. When the water evaporates, those minerals stay behind, layer after layer, drop after drop, building downward. The growth rate is almost nothing. Many stalactites add less than an inch every 1,000 years. Some grow even slower. A stalactite 10 feet long might have taken 1,000,000 years to form a bard. 1,000,000 years of water dripping in darkness. One drop, then another, forever. Stalagmites grow the same way, but upward from the cave floor. The drops fall from above, deposit minerals, and slowly build a stone tower. Eventually, if enough time passes, a stalactite and stalagmite can meet in the middle, forming a column. This might take millions of years. Nature doesn't rush. Other rocks grow differently, but just as slowly. Crystals form when minerals in liquid solidify into organized patterns. A quartz crystal might grow a fraction of a millimeter per year. Large crystals found in caves can be thousands of years old. Some are older than recorded history. Mountains grow too. The Himalayas are still rising, pushed up by tectonic plates colliding beneath them. They gain about 2 inches per year. This seems fast compared to stalactites, but it's still so slow that no human lifetime is long enough to notice. You'd need generations of measurements to see the change. At the same time, erosion wears mountains down. Wind, rain, ice, each removes tiny amounts of stone. Given enough time, even the tallest mountain becomes flat. The Appalachian Mountains used to be as tall as the Himalayas, but they're ancient. Erosion has worked on them for hundreds of millions of years. Now they're gentle and rounded, worn smooth by time. So mountains both grow and shrink simultaneously. Whether they get taller or shorter depends on which process is faster at the moment. Right now, the Himalayas are winning. Growing faster than erosion can wear them down, but eventually, the tectonic forces will stop. Erosion will keep going, and the Himalayas will slowly disappear over the next 100 million years. Stones also travel. Glaciers carry rocks embedded in ice, moving them across continents over thousands of years. A boulder might start in Canada and end up in Ohio, delivered by ice that has long since melted. The stone doesn't know it moved. It doesn't know anything. It just exists wherever it ends up, marking the path of ancient ice. There's a strange comfort in geological time. Your problems are temporary. Your life is temporary. But stones persist. They grow and change according to rules so slow they feel like permanence. A mountain doesn't worry about tomorrow. It doesn't worry at all. It just is, exactly where and what it is, changing at a pace that makes human time irrelevant. Right now, in caves around the world, water is dripping. Minerals are depositing. Stalactites are growing fractions of a millimeter. And they'll continue growing long after everyone alive today is gone. Patient, silent, adding molecule by molecule to structures that may never be finished. Stones don't dream, but birds do. And when they sleep, they dream of the one thing they do best: flying. Scientists discovered this by accident. They attached tiny sensors to sleeping birds, monitoring brain activity through the night. The patterns were unmistakable. The same neurons that fire when a bird flies also fire when it sleeps. The bird is practicing in its dreams. Zebra finches were the first proof. Researchers recorded their brain activity during flight, mapping which neurons activated for specific movements. Then they watched those same birds sleep. The exact same patterns appeared, not random, not jumbled. The precise sequence of neurons that fire during actual flight, playing out in the same order during sleep. The bird was reliving its day, replaying flights it had already taken, going over the motions again in the safety of sleep. Like an athlete visualizing performance, except the bird wasn't doing it consciously. Its brain was doing it automatically. Some birds even sing in their sleep. Their throat muscles twitch, small movements that would produce sound if their vocal cords were active. But they're sleeping, so no sound comes out. Just silent rehearsal, practicing songs without making noise, getting better while unconscious. Young birds do this more than adults. They're still learning. Their brains need more practice, so they spend more time in dream states, running through flight patterns and songs over and over. By morning, they're slightly better than they were the day before. Improvement happening in darkness. This means sleep isn't rest for birds the way we think of rest. It's active learning time, the brain sorting through experiences, strengthening connections, making flight patterns more automatic. When a bird wakes up, it's more skilled than when it fell asleep. Humans do this too. Musicians dream of playing instruments. Athletes dream of their sports. Your brain rehearses whatever you spent the day doing, but most people don't realize it's happening. Birds showed us that this is universal. Learning continues after you stop trying. Migratory birds face a unique problem. They fly for days during migration. thousands of miles without landing. So when do they sleep? The answer is they sleep while flying. One half of their brain shuts down while the other half stays awake, keeping them airborne. They alternate hemispheres, never fully asleep, never fully awake, just enough of each to survive. Even then, the sleeping half dreams. Half a brain practicing flight, while the other half actually flies. The bird exists in two states simultaneously: awake and dreaming, flying and rehearsing flight, reality and practice blurring together at 30,000 feet. There's something beautiful about a creature so defined by one skill that it dreams of nothing else. A bird doesn't dream of being something other than a bird. It dreams of being a better bird. More precise turns, smoother landings, perfect songs. The dream is just an extension of the life. Right now, birds are sleeping all over the world, in trees, on cliffs, hidden in grass. And in their sleep, they're flying, their neurons firing in sequences that match the sky, practicing without moving, getting ready for morning when they'll take flight again. And maybe this time, because of the dream, they'll fly just a little bit better than yesterday. Birds dream of the sky, but beneath them, on every beach, lies something else. Millions of tiny stories. Each grain of sand is a piece of history. Pick up a handful of sand. Look closely. Each grain was once part of something bigger. A mountain, a shell, a piece of coral. Rock that stood solid for millions of years before waves broke it down. Each grain is an ending and a beginning. Most sand starts as rock. Wind and rain crack the surface. Water seeps into the cracks and freezes. Ice expands and splits the rock further. This happens over and over. Years become centuries, become millennia. The rock crumbles. Pieces fall. They roll downhill into streams. Streams carry them to rivers. Rivers carry them to the ocean. In the ocean, waves take over. They tumble the fragments against each other. Sharp edges wear smooth. Rough surfaces become round. Each impact removes a little more material. The pieces get smaller and smaller. Eventually, they're so small they slip through your fingers like water. That's sand. Some sand is different. White beaches in tropical places come from parrotfish. These fish eat coral, digest what they need, and excrete the rest as fine white powder. A single parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds of sand per year. Those beautiful white beaches are essentially fish waste, transformed by time and waves into something people travel across the world to see. Black sand comes from volcanic rock. When lava hits the ocean, it cools instantly and shatters. The fragments get ground down by waves. Black beaches mark places where mountains exploded and met the sea. Every dark grain is a piece of ancient fire, cooled and broken and worn down to dust. Pink sand contains tiny fragments of coral and shells, mixed with white sand. The pink comes from organisms that lived and died and were crushed into powder. Red sand often contains iron that rusted. Green sand comes from olivine crystals. Every color tells you what the sand used to be. Scientists can look at sand under microscopes and read its history. The shape of grains reveals how far they traveled. Angular grains haven't gone far. Round grains have been tumbling for thousands of years. The size tells you about the energy of waves. Fine sand means gentle water. Coarse sand means powerful waves. Sand also moves. Wind builds dunes. Currents create sandbars. Beaches shift and change. Sand that was on one coast last year might be on another coast this year. It never stops traveling, never stops transforming, always moving towards something smaller, smoother, more refined. Eventually, sand becomes so fine it turns to silt, then to clay. The particles get so small they stay suspended in water instead of settling. But the process doesn't truly end. The clay gets compressed over millions of years. It becomes rock again, sedimentary stone, and someday that stone will weather and break. The cycle starts over. Every beach is a graveyard and a nursery. Old things ground down, new things forming. You're standing on transformation itself, on time made visible. Each step you take crushes stories older than language. And the ocean keeps working, keeps breaking things down, keeps making more sand, patiently turning mountains into beaches, one grain at a time. Sand is crushed rock, but beneath the forest, the ground is alive. The soil itself is breathing. You breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. So does the forest floor. Right now, beneath every footstep you take in a forest, the earth is exhaling. This isn't poetic language, it's actual respiration. The soil is full of living things: bacteria, fungi, tiny insects, worms, roots. All of them are breathing, taking in oxygen, releasing carbon dioxide, just like you. The whole forest floor is one massive respiratory system. Scientists measure this. They place chambers over patches of soil and test the air inside. Carbon dioxide levels rise steadily. The soil is producing it constantly. During the day, during the night, summer and winter, the earth never stops breathing. Most of the breathing comes from decomposition. Fallen leaves, dead animals, broken branches. Everything that dies in a forest stays in the forest. And when it decays, it breathes out carbon dioxide. Bacteria and fungi break down the dead material, using oxygen in the process, releasing carbon dioxide as waste. Death becomes breath. Tree roots breathe too. They need oxygen just like leaves do. They pull it from tiny spaces between soil particles, and they release carbon dioxide back into those same spaces. The soil around roots has higher carbon dioxide levels than soil farther away. You can map where roots are just by measuring breath. In spring, the forest floor breathes faster. Warmer temperatures speed up decomposition. More bacteria become active. More fungi spread their threads. The soil exhales harder. You can measure the difference. Spring soil releases nearly twice as much carbon dioxide as winter soil. After rain, breathing slows down. Water fills the spaces between soil particles. Oxygen can't reach the organisms as easily. They slow their activity. Wait for the soil to drain. Then, as it dries, breathing picks up again. The forest floor responds to weather the way your lungs respond to exertion. This breathing matters for the whole planet. Soil respiration releases about 10 times more carbon dioxide than all human activities combined. But it's part of a cycle. Plants absorb carbon dioxide. They grow, they die, they decompose. The carbon goes back into the air. Plants absorb it again. The cycle continues. Balance maintained over millions of years. But the balance is delicate. Warming temperatures make soil breathe faster, more decomposition, more carbon dioxide released, which warms the planet more, which speeds decomposition further. Scientists worry about this feedback loop, about soil breathing so fast it changes the climate. For now, the forest floor continues its rhythm. In, out, slow and steady. A breath that spans acres. Millions of tiny organisms coordinating without knowing they're coordinating. Each one just trying to survive. Together, creating a respiratory system larger than any single creature. Walk through a forest and you're walking on lungs. The earth beneath your feet is as alive as you are. Breathing the same air, using the same oxygen, part of the same system. You exhale carbon dioxide and trees absorb it. Trees drop leaves and soil decomposes them and releases carbon dioxide back. You're not separate from this. You're part of it. One breath among billions, all cycling together. The forest breathes, and each morning it's covered in perfect geometry. Dewdrops are spheres, not almost spheres, actually perfect. Surface tension does this. Water molecules attract each other strongly. They pull on each other from all sides. This pulling force tries to minimize surface area. And the shape with the smallest surface area for any given volume is a sphere. So water naturally forms into balls. When dew forms overnight, water vapor condenses on cool surfaces. Leaves, grass, spiderwebs. Each tiny droplet pulls itself into the most efficient shape possible, a perfect sphere. You can see them in morning light, hanging like glass beads. Larger drops aren't perfect. Gravity distorts them. A raindrop falling through air isn't teardrop shaped like cartoons show. It's flattened on the bottom by air resistance. It looks more like a hamburger bun. Only when drops are small enough that surface tension overpowers gravity do they become true spheres. Dewdrops are in that perfect size range. Big enough to see, small enough that gravity barely affects them. Surface tension wins. The result is geometric perfection created by accident. No planning, no design, just molecules following physical laws. Spiderwebs collect dewdrops like strings of pearls. Each intersection point holds a sphere. The web becomes visible only because of these perfect drops catching light. The spider built its trap invisible. Morning dew reveals it. Beauty as a side effect of physics. Dewdrops also act as tiny lenses. They focus light. If you look closely, you can see the world reflected and magnified in each drop. Upside down, curved, a complete image in something smaller than a pea. Each drop is a camera capturing everything around it. This happens because of how light bends when it passes through water. The curved surface of the sphere refracts light rays, bringing them together at a focal point. The same principle that makes your eye work. The same reason glass lenses exist. Occurring naturally in water every morning. Dew doesn't fall like rain. It forms directly on surfaces. Air holds water vapor. When temperatures drop at night, air can't hold as much moisture. The vapor condenses on anything cooler than the air. Grass, leaves, car, windows. The water appears from nowhere, or rather, it was always there in the air, just invisible until it became liquid. Desert plants survive on dew. In places where rain almost never falls, dew provides enough moisture to live. The plants are shaped to collect it. Waxy leaves that funnel drops toward roots. Hairs that trap droplets. Evolution found ways to harvest these tiny spheres. By mid-morning, dew evaporates. The air warms. Molecules gain energy and become vapor again. The perfect spheres disappear. Until the next night. The cycle repeats daily, has repeated for as long as water has existed on Earth. There's something satisfying about this perfection. That nature, without trying, creates flawless shapes. That water finds the most efficient form automatically. That beauty emerges from simple physical laws, working themselves out. Right now, somewhere in the world, dew is forming. Water vapor is condensing. Molecules are pulling themselves into spheres. Spiderwebs are filling with light-catching geometry. And in a few hours, the sun will rise and reveal millions of perfect shapes, each one temporary, each one exact, each one proof that nature solves problems elegantly without thinking. Dewdrops hold entire worlds in miniature, but the deepest ocean is the opposite. Miles of almost nothing. The deep ocean is the emptiest habitat on Earth. Go down far enough and life becomes rare, not gone, just spread so thin that creatures might go their whole lives without seeing another of their kind. It's lonelier than any desert, quieter than any cave. Below about 3,000 feet, sunlight disappears completely. No light means no plants. No plants means no food chain like we know it. Everything down there survives on scraps. Dead things falling from above. Marine snow, scientists call it. Bits of organic matter drifting down like dust. It can take weeks to reach the bottom. The pressure is crushing. At the deepest points, over 36,000 feet down, the weight of water above equals about 8 tons per square inch. That's like having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of you. Anything with air spaces gets compressed into nothing. Most life can't survive it. The cold is absolute, near freezing, no seasonal change. No variation, just constant cold darkness that has remained the same for millions of years. Time moves differently when nothing ever changes. Yet life exists. Fish with bodies so specialized they look alien. Transparent skin, oversized eyes that capture any hint of light. Some produce their own light through bioluminescence. Glowing lures, flashing patterns, light as language in a place where no other light exists. The anglerfish is famous for this. Females carry a glowing lure dangling in front of their mouths. Other fish see the light, think it's food, come closer, get eaten. In the deep ocean, even light is a trap. But encounters are rare. The ocean is so vast and life so sparse that most creatures spend their time alone, swimming through darkness, waiting for food that might never come, existing in a state of permanent hunger and isolation. The deepest parts are called the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the underworld. Scientists have only visited a handful of times. The pressure makes it harder to explore than space. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own ocean trenches. What they've found is surprising. Even at the very bottom, life persists. Sea cucumbers, amphipods, bacteria, things that shouldn't be able to survive. But they do, slowly, quietly, in the most hostile environment on Earth. The deep ocean is also the most peaceful place on the planet. No storms reach down there. No waves, no turbulence. Just still, cold water. Silent except for the occasional call of a whale passing far above. Distance measured not in miles, but in the time it takes sound to cross emptiness. There's something almost meditative about that emptiness. A place so remote from everything that nothing disturbs it. Where life exists without competition because there's too much space for conflict. Where survival means simply enduring, being present, waiting in darkness. Right now, in trenches deeper than mountains are tall, creatures are drifting, moving slowly to conserve energy, existing in near-perfect stillness, the deepest meditation happening in the deepest place. Life stripped down to its absolute minimum, and somehow, even there, it continues. Patient, persistent, proof that life wants to exist even when existence offers almost nothing. Deep water stays still, but above it, air never stops moving. Wind is just the atmosphere trying to solve a problem. That problem is imbalance. The sun heats Earth unevenly. Equator gets more heat than the poles. Land heats faster than water. Mountains block airflow. All of this creates differences in air pressure. And air hates differences. When air gets hot, it rises. This creates low pressure below. Cool air rushes in to fill the space. That rush is wind. Air moving from high pressure to low pressure, trying to make everything equal again. But it never succeeds. As soon as one imbalance corrects itself, another forms somewhere else. The sun keeps heating. Earth keeps spinning. The differences keep appearing. So, wind never stops. It's the atmosphere's endless attempt to solve an unsolvable equation. The strongest winds come from the biggest differences. Hurricanes form when ocean water is much warmer than the air above it. The temperature gap creates massive air movement. Air spirals inward toward low pressure, faster and faster, trying to equalize things. The storm is just wind taking the most direct path it can find. Even gentle breezes follow the same principle. That soft wind on your face is air flowing from somewhere slightly cooler to somewhere slightly warmer, or from higher pressure to lower. The magnitude changes, but the reason stays the same. Balance seeking. Wind also redistributes heat around the planet. Hot air from the equator moves toward the poles. Cold air from the poles moves toward the equator. Without this mixing, the equator would be unbearably hot and the poles even colder than they are. Wind keeps the planet livable by spreading heat around. It moves water too. Ocean currents are partly driven by wind. Surface water gets pushed by air moving above it. This creates circulation patterns that span entire oceans. Warm water flows north, cold water flows south. The mixing moderates climate. Islands that should be frozen stay warm because wind-driven currents bring heat from elsewhere. Wind shapes the land over time. It carries sand and dust, grinds down rocks, carves valleys. The same force that rustles leaves can, given enough time, move mountains. Not quickly, not dramatically, but constantly. A little bit every day for millions of years adds up to massive change. Plants use wind to spread seeds. Some seeds have wings. Others have fluff that catches air. Trees evolved to let wind carry their offspring miles away. Wind became a partner in reproduction, a delivery system that costs nothing and reaches everywhere. Birds ride wind to save energy. They find updrafts and spiral upward without flapping. They glide on currents that carry them for miles. They understand what wind is doing and use it. Turn the atmosphere's problem into their solution. Every breeze is the world trying to fix itself, to smooth out differences, to make everything equal. It never works completely, but the attempt never stops either. The air keeps moving, keeps seeking balance, keeps trying to solve equations that have no permanent solution. And maybe that's the point. Maybe balance isn't a destination, but a process. Maybe peace isn't the absence of motion, but motion with purpose. Wind teaches this. It rushes and calms and rushes again, always moving toward stillness, never quite arriving. And that's enough. Wind moves everything around, but eventually everything comes back down. Everything returns to earth. This is the final truth about nature. Every living thing becomes soil. Trees that stood for centuries, animals that ran and flew and swam, plants that bloomed every spring. All of them end the same way. They fall, they decay, they become the ground. Death isn't an ending, it's a transformation. When a leaf falls, bacteria and fungi break it down. They consume it, extract energy from it. What remains mixes into the soil. The leaf stops being a leaf and becomes dirt. But that dirt feeds new plants, which grow new leaves. The material circles back. A deer dies in the forest. Its body feeds insects, scavengers, decomposers. Within months, the deer is gone, but the atoms that made up its body are still there, in the soil, in the plants growing from that soil, in the animals eating those plants. Nothing was lost. Everything was redistributed. Even mountains returned to earth. They erode into sediment. That sediment washes into rivers. Rivers carry it to the Valpad, ocean. It settles on the ocean floor, layer upon layer for millions of years. Eventually, the weight compresses it back into rock. The rock gets pushed up by tectonic forces, becomes mountains again. The cycle continues. You're part of this too. Your body is made from food you ate. That food came from plants and animals. Those plants grew from soil. That soil came from decomposed organisms. You're built from recycled material, from things that used to be other things. You're wearing borrowed atoms, temporary combinations that will separate again someday. This isn't sad. It's how life works. Death feeds life, always has. The first organisms that ever lived are still here, not as themselves, but as components. Their atoms got reused, became new organisms. Those died and became others. An unbroken chain of transformation stretching back billions of years. The soil beneath your feet contains pieces of everything that ever lived in that spot. Ancient forests, dinosaurs, microorganisms, all mixed together, all still participating in life by feeding what's alive now. They didn't disappear, they changed form. Nature wastes nothing. Every ending is a beginning. Every loss becomes a resource. The system is perfectly efficient because it has to be. There's nowhere else for material to go. Earth is a closed loop. What's here now is what's always been here, just constantly rearranged. So when you rest tonight, know this: you're not separate from nature. You're an active part of it, made from it, sustained by it, eventually returning to it. The same atoms that make you used to be stars. Before that, Sud, they were scattered through space. There'll be other things after you. The universe doesn't let anything go to waste. Sleep is practice for this. A temporary letting go, a small transformation. You close your eyes and become something different for a while. Not awake, not quite gone, just resting, just changing state. And when you wake, you'll be slightly different than you were. Some cells died, new ones formed. You're constantly becoming, never quite the same, always transforming, just like everything else. Rest now, let go. Nature is resting with you. The trees lowering their branches, the soil breathing slowly, the mountains wearing down grain by grain. Everything in its own rhythm, everything connected, everything returning eventually to Earth. If you found peace in this journey, please like and subscribe. Join us again tomorrow for another quiet exploration. And leave a comment about what you're taking with you from tonight. What will you think about differently now? We'll be here, same time, same gentle space. Sleep well.